Hey everybody, what's up? It's or Rebel Inks Art, here again with another video. Now, first thing you might notice that it is a Tuesday, not a Friday, and this is not a regular character design video. I've been debating off and on whether I wanted to do this or not, and I decided that I am going to go ahead and start doing another video every week. Instead of having a kind of designated idea for the Tuesday video slot, I'm going to use this opportunity to do different challenges or speed paints or that kind of thing, different ideas that I've been toying with. So if there's any particular challenges or concepts you'd like to see me do a video on, feel free to go ahead and drop that in the comments and I'll add it to my to-do list. For today's video, I decided to go ahead and tackle something that I've been meaning to do for a while. The picture up on screen right now is the very first piece of digital art I ever did. I did it back in 2012. I had that page up. I should have pulled it up before I started recording. I believe it was 2012. It was the day I got my tablet finally shipped in. I had bought it 4 days prior after saving up birthday money for about 3 years, and I finally had enough for it. And as soon as it got here, I pulled up this sketch I had done forever ago and lined it, colored it, just had a blast with it, and then proceeded to do like 5 other digital pictures. And for years I wanted to redraw this picture. I spent a very long time loving it, and then immediately switched from loving it to hating it, like at the drop of a pin after I realized I could do a lot better. But I never quite had the guts to go forward and actually try redrawing it. I never felt like I was quite good enough, which is a very silly way of thinking. But I decided that I felt ready to kind of finally tackle this idea, and I figured a video was probably the best way to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the video where I redraw this now. Now, the first thing to note with this video, or with this drawing more like, is you may have noticed there were some very Minecraft-y elements in the original picture. And the reason for that was when I first got my tablet, I was going through a phase that lasted only about a week, where there was this mod for Minecraft where somebody took all the enemies in it and turned them into anime girls, and my little closeted self thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I spent a good week obsessed with the characters from that, and that week happened to coincide with when I got my tablet, but that quickly faded and I went right back to Legend of Zelda and Homestuck and all that good little stuff. But for this, I wanted to go ahead and kind of turn them into their own characters, kind of take the elements that I liked about these characters and cut out some of the things that didn't really matter as much to me. And I wanted to take this video kind of as an opportunity to start talking about, I guess, my art journey, how I got to where I am with my art, and that sort of thing. And not necessarily so much about how I found my art style, because I have another video planned where I want to talk about that, but just kind of, you know, how I got to where I am now. And so I guess the best place to start is in my best friend's bedroom when I was 7 years old. When I was 7 years old, I met my best friend. Her name is Lindsay, and she is the most wonderful, beautiful person in the whole wide world. And she encouraged me and motivated me to be the best person I can be, and she still does. And Lindsay got me into all kinds of trouble, and all of it was the best possible trouble you can ever imagine, especially when you're 7 years old. And so she was the one that really from the very beginning inspired me to be creative. She inspired me to be positive and to see the best in life and to keep on fighting even when I wanted to give up. And I think the best thing that Lindsay ever did for me was she kept believing in me. And even more that she kept believing I could be something more than I guess everybody else at the time thought I could be. And that really pushed me to be a lot of who I am now, and she continues to push me. She was wonderful like that. When I was about, how old was I? I was 11, so she was 12. I got a call, mid-afternoon from Lindsay. We used to call each other on our family's landlines, because that's the age we were. We didn't have cell phones. We just had each other's home phone numbers memorized. And I got a call from Lindsay, and she said, "You have to come over, ask your mom if you can spend the night. My uncle got me this drawing book because it reminds him of my art style, and you have to see this." Now, Lindsay could always draw. Everybody who knew Lindsay when she was little knew she could draw and knew she was the best gosh darn drawer this side of the planet. She had this cute art style with these big old eyes that were inspired by the cartoons she watched growing up. We didn't know there was a name for it. We didn't know it was called anime. We just knew that that was Lindsay's style and that Lindsay was the best at it, and her art was super cute and sometimes kind of sad, but it always made everybody feel really happy. And so when I found out there was an art book where somebody else drew like Lindsay, I was super excited about that. And it taught you how to draw like Lindsay. That was the coolest thing to me, because I was trying to teach myself how to draw like Lindsay, because I wanted to make people feel happy like that. Like her art always made me feel. So of course I begged and begged and begged, and I got to go over to her house and spend the night. And I have that art book, not sitting next to me, I have the sequel to it. But that art book was Shoujo Fashion Manga Art School. By Irene Flores, and we took that art book and we copied nearly every drawing in that. We didn't put the pages over the pages of the book, I don't think, but we just sat there and tried to recreate them by just looking at them, and we taught ourselves how to draw like that. And we stayed up the whole night, and by the end of that sleepover, we had planned a 3-part trilogy movie. And it was from that evening, that sleepover at Lindsay's house, that I realized I wanted to be an artist. I realized that this was something that made me happy and that I could use to make other people happy. And it was something I was kind of good at. I remember there was one particular moment. There was a drawing in the book of a lady with short hair, and she had like a jacket and t-shirt combo on. I thought she was very pretty. So I tried to copy it to the best of my ability. Not put any like extra big eyes on it. I wanted to make it look exactly like it did in the book, and so I did my absolute best. And I showed Lindsay when I was done, and she went, "That's the coolest thing ever." Grabbed the page, ran all the way downstairs and showed her mom and went, "Mom, look at what Rebecca did." And it made me believe I could actually be good at something. And it was kind of from that moment on I realized this was something I could use to make myself happy. It was something I was not only good at, but it was something that didn't make me miserable. Up until that point, I had planned on being an engineer, because my dad was an engineer, and I figured, I'm good at math, I'm good at science, I might as well do this. It'll make me money, it'll make my parents happy. I won't be happy, but I can buy like video games or something, and then I can be happy through that. And I'd kind of resigned myself through that. Art was the first time I realized I could have a career I enjoyed. And ever since that day, me and Lindsay swore we were going to make movies. We haven't quite gotten to that point yet, but we're getting there. So I went home, I drew more and more and more. We kept planning movies. Every sleepover we had after that, we would work on movies we had designed before or come up with a whole new premise. The first ones we created were called War of the Tribes, and then there was whatever our weird Legend of Zelda parody was. I don't even remember the name, but I know I've still got drawings of it. And then we had Sidekicks, and we just went hard. Everything we did, we wanted to create cute characters and cool stories, and we wanted to create these characters that reminded us of ourselves, and we wanted to put them through the worst possible scenarios and show them coming out alive and successful and happy and safe. And that was what kind of set me, I guess, on my feet to become an artist. And I mean, even to this day, with like all the other resources and people I've had come into my life and help me, Lindsay is still that driving factor for me, that person who believed in me from the get-go before I even found art, who introduced me to art, and who continued to push me to get better, not just at art, but at everything I do. After that, it was a lot of just that same thing, making movies with Lindsay, planning things out like that, having fun. There wasn't really a big burst. There wasn't a big burst of, I guess, progress until I discovered DeviantArt. And it was me and Lindsay discovered DeviantArt together and went, oh man, look at all these cool people drawing anime. We can draw anime on there too. And it was in getting a DeviantArt that I was pushed to get my own tablet. I wanted to do digital art. That's what all the cool artists did. And that's, just as a side note, you don't have to do digital art to be a cool artist. I know it feels like that's what you have to do to be a professional. You don't. You don't at all. It's not a requirement. Digital art is where I found I fit best, and if you want to experiment, I say go for it. but don't push yourself to get like a crazy expensive tablet right off the bat because you think that's the only way you can succeed. I have a artist friend, Sky. They are the absolute coolest. All their work is traditional, and they've made a wonderful little career out of it, and their stuff is the coolest. I'll link to them in the description, but they do mostly line stuff. And it was through DeviantArt that I started learning how to publish myself, start advocating for myself, getting people to pay attention to my work more. And that was because somebody, before I just uploaded my art, put a silly little caption on it, called it a day, and then somebody introduced me to the idea of sharing my art in groups, of getting my art out there, trying to get people to see it, and I realized, oh, if I do that, I get more comments, I get more likes. I like that, I'll go ahead and start trying to do that. And that was what got me on the road to start publishing my own work and start kind of trying to make more of a name for myself. And I think from there it automatically progressed. I did DeviantArt until I wanted to stop doing so much anime stuff and didn't like all the really creepy people you get on DeviantArt. And then a friend got me on Tumblr, and I started using Tumblr to share my art. And from there, it wasn't until I started doing more heavily like fandom stuff, in particular I got into the Yogscast fandom and started doing art for that I really understood how to better market myself and how to start engaging more with fellow fans in order to sell my art. And somewhere in that period, I met John Tyler Christopher. John Tyler Christopher he's an artist that works for Marvel. I know he does covers primarily for like Spider-Man. And he grew up in the town that I lived in, still live in. And he came back to teach a class for artists, or young artists that were interested in becoming professional artists and didn't know how to do that. And I was all about that. It was free, which meant I could do it because we didn't spend money on art classes. And so I immediately hopped in there and just tried to get everything I could out of this experience. And through that I met Alex, who was his apprentice at the time, who is now a friend of mine. She does wonderful work. I'll go ahead and link to her Facebook page in the comments or the description as well, because her work also inspires me incredibly. She got me one of my first jobs and continued to inspire me. But also, it was how I got to my very first convention. John Tyler Christopher gave me an opportunity to go to WizardCon for a day and have an opportunity to try selling my artwork, and taught me how to handle large crowds and how to talk myself up to potential customers, how to get commissions, how to better sell my work, how to get prints of my artwork. Just all these things that before meeting him felt like a very distant reality. I didn't think I'd ever be able to get to that point, much less when I was 15, 16. I didn't think it was a possibility. And it just kind of pushed me in this direction of realizing there's no one age that you have to be when you're allowed to start being a professional artist. There's no one skill level you have to be in order to become a professional artist. The second you make money, the second you dedicate yourself to that, no matter how much that dedication feels like it's not enough, no matter how much that $5 you got for that sketch you did doesn't feel like enough, it counts. The only difference between a hobby artist and a professional artist is dedication. There's no, goal point. There's no, checklist you have to fill out before you're allowed to call yourself a professional artist. You just have to believe in yourself and push yourself to fit that title. And I think just having that definition, being able to kind of jump into that without, having to pay for that opportunity, just really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that I can start this at any time. I can be this person at any opportunity. There's nothing stopping me, really. And I believe from that point on, from WizardCon on, was what really pushed me to start being an artist, on a professional level. And I feel like there's still very much times I don't feel like I qualify as a professional artist. I feel like I'm not putting enough time into it. I'm not improving enough. But at times like that, I just remember that little 14, 16-year-old Ree felt like a professional artist when she was at WizardCon. She felt like a professional artist when she sold her first print, and when she sold every print after that. There's no difference between that kid and the person I am now, except for a couple more years of experience. And so I guess, I don't know, if you've made it this far in the video, I know the recording of the Speedpaint has long since stopped by now. But this is just kind of my way of saying, if you feel like you've got to wait on something in order to pursue your dream of doing art, even if it's just a part-time thing, or if you want it to be a full-time thing, you've officially done it. You just have to set it in your mind that you've actually done it. There's no... I don't know the right words to say right now. There's nothing stopping you aside from yourself. And I guess I really don't have some nice, clean, tidy way to finish this video up. And I will do follow-up videos on this kind of thing about particular lessons I've learned or things that I found helpful, how I found my art style. I know that's a very big one that a lot of artists struggle with, or how to fight off negativity, which is one I still struggle with, and I'm gonna feel like a hypocrite talking about it. But I guess just what I wanted to say with this video is that if you're an artist, even if you're just doodling on the corners of your homework or on little sheets of paper while you work your day job, what have you, you are good enough, and you're doing an incredible job, and I'm super proud of you. And I guess that's the cleanest ending I'm gonna get, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it here. If you have any questions, anything you'd like expanded on more, go ahead and drop that in the comments. Thank you guys for watching this. I hope you like this Speedpaint/ramble podcast. I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you drink some water, get a really good night's sleep. I hope you see at least 2 dogs. And until next time, you guys have a lovely day. Bye-bye!